You know you're a combat sports fan when the world faces an unprecedented pandemic, everything starts getting shut down, and the only thing you can think about is how bummed you are about all the fights getting canceled. That is exactly what happened to me earlier this year when this pandemic struck, and one of the biggest fights that I was disappointed won't happen is Lomachenko versus Lopez. I was even more disappointed about that than Khabib and Tony falling through for the fifth time. The reason I like this fight so much is because the 135-pound division currently reminds of me of the 147-pound division back in the Sugar Ray Leonard era, right? With Duran, Sugar Ray, and Hearns kind of being the best of the best and having to fight it out amongst themselves to determine really who's that top dog. And the 135 division had their five top dogs that haven't been fighting each other. You got Teofimo Lopez, you got Vasily Lomachenko, you got Devin Haney, you got Gervonta Davis, and you got Ryan Garcia, right? Five guys, all undefeated, all who are on the collision course. And this is the first of those fights. Of those five guys that are all going to fight it out, this is the first of those fights where we get to see what these guys are made of. We all know Lomachenko is a special fighter. He's been fighting world champs since the beginning of his career. And some of you may not know, but Teofimo is also a special fighter. This kid is not a joke. He's got a lot of tools in his toolkit. He's not just a slugger. He's not just a power puncher. He's actually a really good boxer. Lomachenko might be trash talking a little when he says the punch he landed against Comey was lucky, because it was far from lucky. If you pay attention to that fight, Teofimo was measuring him the whole time, right? He was boxing him. He can read guys really well. We're very intuitive in there. And I've been watching Teofimo since his first televised fight. The guy is a beast. He really is a smart fighter. He's a strong fighter, he's a fast fighter, he poses a lot of threats to a guy like Lomachenko. The thing about Lomachenko though is he is next level, so much so that I don't actually think we've seen him tested in the ring at all, which is what makes this fight so compelling. You're gonna see a guy as good as Lomachenko finally face somebody who's also after greatness. Lomachenko did have some good competition. Again, he's fought nothing but world champs, but he really hasn't been tested to the point of fighting somebody who's on the same path as he's on, right? That's what makes boxing fights so great, is when you got two guys that are not after the belt, that are after greatness. They want to be great, right? You see that extra spark in the eyes. You see that X factor. It's something different about these guys. And it's really exciting when two guys like that meet in the ring. And so far, every guy that Lomachenko has fought has been talented, has been a world champion, but they haven't had that X factor, which is what makes this fight really interesting. That being said, I do think it will play out in Lomachenko's favor at the end. Teofimo can catch him early, and if he catches him early enough, he can make Lomachenko a little more tentative and perhaps maybe try to steal some rounds and maybe even get rid of him, right? There's a potential for that to happen, which is what makes this fight exciting. But I'm more leaning towards Lomachenko doing his usual thing, starting the fight off looking like it's competitive, right? Slowly figuring his opponent down and eventually wearing Teofimo down and being able to get the decision over him and maybe even a stoppage. I do think Teofimo has heart. I don't know that a stoppage is really possible. If Lomachenko does stop him though, it really puts him on the top of the 135-pound division. It makes him the favorite against even guys like Gervonta Davis, rather than being a 50-50 fight if he's able to go out there and completely demolish Teofimo. I don't think that will happen. I think Teofimo is going to put up a good fight. But I'm favoring Lomachenko in this fight, probably by decision. So far with the lead up to the fight, I will say Teofimo does carry with him a lot of confidence. I'm not going to pretend to be a body language expert, but despite what he says, I do see that he has respect for Lomachenko. And I see that Lomachenko is not treating him lightly either. So shaping up to be a pretty good fight. So far, they're both showing all the right cues. Neither guy is really afraid of the other guy. But I do think Teofimo took this fight a little bit too early. A little more experience against some crafty guys would have served him well and maybe increased his chances a little bit. I still give him a chance. He's a live dog in this fight, which is why I'm so excited. Fights like this do not come around often. But I'm still giving the edge to Lomachenko. I think overall he's going to be able to deal with Teofimo's speed. I think he's going to be able to deal with his power. And I think we'll actually see Lomachenko tested and see how he reacts when it's tested. But you don't get to where Lomachenko is if you don't got this, right? And he's 100% has heart if he is where he is today. It takes a special kind of human being to be able to reach the level of success that he has. And you don't get to that place, to that level of skill and to that level of success if you don't already have this and this in the right place. But it would be interesting to see a guy like Lomachenko tested and see just how monstrous he comes out to be, right? When we saw Mayweather tested in the Shane Mosley fight, we saw that the way he reacted is the opposite of what people thought he would do if he got cracked, right? People thought he would become more defensive. Instead, he put his gloves up, he walked Shane down the rest of the fight trying to knock his head off, his body, right? It was a really interesting thing to see, and it made you realize why Floyd is where he is, right? And I think that's what we may realize about Lomachenko come Saturday night. Now, again, Teofimo has a shot, but I'm giving the edge to Lomachenko. But I would love to know who you guys think is going to win and how the fight is going to play out, right? Show off your fight IQ and break down how the fight's going to go and see how right you were, right? We can never really predict these things because combat sports is unpredictable in general, but that's what makes it exciting. That's why we love it, and that's why we're all tuning in tonight. And don't forget, this fight is not on pay-per-view, which is even more insane, right? The fact that it's not on pay-per-view and the fact that the crowd is not going to be there, I absolutely love it. But again, leave me a comment. Let me know who you think is going to win. I'm Sean with Brawl Brothers, and I'll brawl with you guys next time.